Okay, so here let's create one class. I will say create thread. This one, okay, let's have one package that is called basic dot thread. I'm creating a new package, basics dot threads. Okay, let's create it. Okay, so main method is already there. Okay, so here I'm creating one class that is called create thread. Let's create another class, say test create thread. Let's remove main method from here, and let's remove main method from here as well. Okay, so I'm creating one class which is called create thread, and I will show you how to create the thread. Okay, so creation of thread will be can be done from two ways. One is extending the thread. So if a class extends from class thread, then you can create a thread from that class. Okay, so suppose I have one class called create thread. I will extend it from thread. Okay, so if you see this class thread, this class is available in java.lang package. Okay, this class implements runnable. Okay, I will tell you how to create the thread using runnable later, but if you create a thread by extending the class thread which is already implementing runnable. Okay, so I'm creating one class create thread which is extending one class called thread. Okay, now here if you go to this class again, this class has one method called run. Okay, this method we need to override. If I don't override, whenever I will create the thread, it will call the run method of this class, that is thread class. Okay, so if you extend this one, it will not ask to override any run method because it is already overridden in the thread class. But what we will do, we will override run method. Okay, we will not call superclass run method, we will override here. So in this run method is the portion of the code, part of the code which you want to execute for a thread. Okay, so in this run method I'm going to print first 100 numbers. So I will run one for loop int I is equal to 1, I less than equal to 100, or say let's print 50 I plus plus, then say system.out.println, and you can mention that here I. Okay, let's have one method called here string thread name. And this one I will create based on the constructor. I will pass here, I will pass here thread name. Suppose this particular method has been called by multiple threads, then I just to identify the thread, I'm giving some name to that. I'm just trying to give some name to that thread. So I will say this dot thread name equal to name. Okay. So you can say that you can say that thread name is printing this value. Okay. Now the logic of my run method is complete. Okay. Now what I can do, this is my class which is extending the thread. Now let's create the thread from this class. So I'm going to test create method where I will have one main method. Okay. Here I will create the object of that create thread.java. Sorry, create thread class. I will create one object of that. So I will say create thread t1 is equal to new t1. I am passing the name, say first thread. Okay. Then I say I will create another thread t2 that is called second thread. Then I will say t1 dot start and t2 dot start. So if you see here in terms of life cycle, first I created the thread, then I am calling the start method. Once I call the start method, it will start doing the execution. So it will go to run runnable, then it will go to running, and once the execution of run method will be complete, then it will go to terminate. Okay, that is a normal life cycle. So let's run it. So if you see here, the execution of this one, first thread is printing 1 to 100. Okay, then in between, sorry, after first thread is completed, or you cannot say here one first thread is completed, basically both are running in parallel. Second thread is starting here and completing. Okay, now let's try to see the how where two threads are printing. Right now you saw that one thread is printing, then second thread is printing. So let's give one gap while printing of each integer. Let's give one gap. So we will give the gap with thread dot sleep, say 500 millisecond. Okay, this will throw some exception, that is interrupted exception. I will catch it and just put print stack trace. Let's run it again. Okay, if you see here what is happening, both things are going in parallel. I use the sleeps just to show you that it is going in parallel. So if you see here, both threads are running in parallel. It is printing first, it is printing second as well. Okay, so this is where you can see that this is multi-threading programming. Okay, so now go back to understand the creation of thread. So creation of thread is happening uh, with the when we try to extend from the thread. Okay, this is the first way of creation of thread. So in this way, what you did, you created one class and that is extending thread. Okay, then you are creating one object of create thread. Okay, so let's try to understand the other way. Let's do one thing. Let's keep it this one as it is. Let's remove. Okay, let's leave it like that. Let's create one more class and we will give the name of create class using runnable. So let's remove main method because we will test it outside. So this class I have created create class using runnable. So this class I will create a thread of this class. So what I will do, first way was creating the class and extending from the thread, and the one is implementing the runnable. Because if you extend the thread which is already implementing runnable. Okay, so here in this case I'm directly implementing runnable. Okay, so it will ask you to implement the run method. See, in earlier case, because it was extending thread class, and class was already implementing runnable run method of the runnable interface. So while extending the thread class, it will not force you to override the run method, but here it will ask you to override the run method. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write the same logic here. I will copy this logic here and paste it here. Okay, so thread name and all those things I will give it as it is. I will use this constructor. Okay, now it's ready. Let's go to test. So in case of test, let's comment it. Let's say that create runnable using create class using runnable. Let's go to new. Here I will give first. Okay, then here I will I can not call start method because start method is not here, and to execute thread I need start method. Okay, so here what we need to do, we have to create a thread. We will say thread 1 is equal to new thread, and there is one constructor when I say new thread, that is say runnable target. So here runnable target you can give any class which is implementing runnable. So here I will give runnable class using runnable. Okay, and here when you create it you can give its name again here. You can give the thread of name of the thread from here also. So which is taking another parameter where you can give the name of the thread. So what will happen here, in this case I am giving name of the thread from this class, which will be common if I create another thread. Okay, that is not correct. So here we have to pass the thread name from this new thread, and then we will give the name of thread from here. We will say first thread. In this, we will remove from here. Okay, so what I will do, let's remove this constructor and say that thread dot current thread dot get name. So it will take the current thread which will execute this run program. It will take the name from that thread and then it will print it. Okay. So let's run it. So this is the first thread I have created. I will create another thread, thread 2, new thread, and I will say second thread. Let's run it. Oh, I have to say thread 1 dot start and thread 2 dot start. Let's run it. So you will see the same result. Okay. So it is printing from 1 to 50. Okay, both threads are running with the interval of half second. 500 millisecond means half second. I will tell you later about sleep. Let's not worry about that right now. So let's see the difference between these two. So we have created one class called create thread, that is with by extending the thread, and another is create class using runnable, that is using run, that is by implementing runnable. First difference is that in terms of multi-threading. So in create thread, it cannot other it cannot extend other classes if it needs. Okay, so that is the limitation by using by extending this thread class. You cannot extend any other class. Okay, so that's giving one limitation. In compared to that, in case of this second class where it is create class using runnable, it will help you to create the thread by just implementing the runnable. So here you can still extend other classes. Okay, another difference is that the test program, if you see here, for each thread you are creating one object. So for uh, T1 you are creating new create thread object. For T2 you are creating new create thread object for two different threads. In case of another class where you are implementing runnable, you are creating two threads using a single instance of the class. Okay, that's the second difference. So here creation of object are less. Okay, so and here you have more control on giving the name, right? So you are creating the instance of thread, okay, and then providing the name of that, right? So in case of creation of extending the thread, you are creating the object of the class, but in case of when you are implementing the enable, you are creating the object of the thread. So these are the major differences between going with these ways. So recommended way of thread creation is the second way, where you are implementing the runnable, because it has few benefits. One benefit is that you can still extend other classes. Second benefit is that You can create the threads independent independent of this class, where you just need to use the instance of this class, and you can still use one instance of this class for creation of multiple threads. Okay, so this is all about differences between these two way of creation of class. Let's go back to PPT.